Okay, good evening and afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the late one with yours truly, Sylbourne Sydial. And it's a beautiful, what should I say, Saturday evening, 16th of January. We're going places. 4 days time towards the inauguration. I don't know why did I use that as a cue, but nevertheless, 4 days towards the inauguration, where there's a new president. But hey, the president tonight will be Coach or Mr. Anthony Francis. That's the president tonight we're gonna talk about. But listen, guys, as we are onto the whole aspect with COVID, one of the things that I said I'm going to do, which I'm doing, and which I've been doing, is doing these series. I call it these lockdown series. But when I say the lockdown series, it's not the series whereby you go into lockdown mode. It's not the series where you go into safe mode. This is where you go into boost mode. Boost mode is when you press and you're going to your car. If you remember Furious, the Fast and Furious, you press that button. Because I tell you what, when you hear the word lockdown, and all those sort of things, people just turn over and say, oh, there's nothing I can do. But I say, no, don't go into lockdown mode. And that tonight, my computer guy came and picked up a laptop for my son. Of course, socially distanced. He's not going to open that computer up into safe mode. He's a technician. He's not going to get into that safe mode zone. He's going to boost it, and he's going to put some boosting stuff, because guess what? With the schools and what is happening now, children are under pressure, and we've got to make sure that their computers are top specs, and he's going to put optimal. And I believe at this time very strongly, and in my walk, anybody who's been watching my walk in the past 2 days, I've been talking about boost mode, super mode. Don't get into lockdown mode. Don't get into safe mode, boost mode. And that's what tonight. But listen, before I go any further, Black position in the workplace, that is something which is crucial. Some say BME. I like to say black position. Black position, you say, have you been told to be grateful for the job you have? As you can hear the question that Coach Anthony Francis said. Do you feel like an imposter in the role that you have at work? That is going to be the central tenet of the show tonight. And before I go any further, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to introduce my guest, Coach, business coach, Anthony Francis, Don Dada. Sorry, is that correct? I can't introduce you like Don Dada. You're a businessman, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I'd like to just keep it on the straight and narrow tonight, please, Sylbourne.
You like to keep it on straight and narrow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Anthony Francis is a business coach, mentor, and author of the book Think It, Plan It, Do It Now. And Anthony was also on my show last night. And one of the things is that he's no messing around, and he goes straight to the point, straight for the jugular. And I call him the truth. Right, Anthony? Is that correct?
Yep, I speak as I see it.
Well, listen, here we are on a Saturday evening where people should be chilling, going out, but they have nowhere to go. So we say, let's get down into the lockdown series. Anthony, this topic here, and let me just put it up there and ladies and gentlemen, those who are coming in, Dion Johnson, hi, the womanologist. Thank you for coming on. Boost mode. Okay, she's got that word boost mode. That's my new code there. Boost mode. I like everybody to take it. Don't worry, I don't care. You can take it. You just make sure you put the copyright. Doesn't matter. But boost mode. That's my new word. Anthony, this topic here, black position in the workplace, but not power. We're talking about this, and we said, let's not talk about it anymore. Let's put it out there in the atmosphere. What's your take on it, and how can we shoot off on this key topic here?
Well, I think the key thing here, Sylbourne, is I have a number of clients, and obviously a number of them are from the BAME community or from the black community. And some of the things that did surprise me during some of the sessions I've had with a number of these clients who are successful in their own right is that they actually sometimes feel that despite being in key roles within the organizations that they're in, that they actually feel as if they're either unable to progress to the next level because they feel as if they're grateful for the role that they've got, or some of them feel that they've got positions and feel that because they perhaps don't have the qualifications that some of their colleagues have got, that there's a sort of imposter syndrome element within how they think, which basically means that they more or less almost feel as if they should sort of just keep the position but not rock the boat. So, it made me think to myself, why do we have this sort of thinking? What is this mindset within our own community that makes us think that just because we happen to be black or from an ethnic minority background, that we feel as almost as if, we can't progress as our white colleagues can. And I think that was really the essence of our initial conversation that led us to sort of say, okay, well, let's actually put it out there and see if other people feel the same way or their experiences in their roles or careers.
So if I can paraphrase, what you're actually saying is similar to my opening, where people want to maybe feel that they need to be in safe mode. They don't want to rock the boat. They're in key position, but they don't want to push further because they fear that it will be taken away, and what we call it, feeling that you're in a privileged position, as if to say you did not get there by your effort and your work.
Well, no, they did get there by their effort, but I think what tends to happen is you then, like for example, one particular client of mine who's a very senior person within the insurance industry. What he happened to say to me was that rather than actually move to the next level, his colleagues, his friends, his peers around him, family members, they actually sort of said, well, look, you know what, you've achieved a lot of success, and actually you should be grateful for the role that you've got. Why do you want to try and move any further forward? And I thought to myself, well, why wouldn't you want to try and move further forward? Why should you feel as if you've only, where you are is your limit? And why should somebody else try and hold you back? And it was almost as if like there was a mindset within our community, or some members of our community, who almost sort of feel, well, you know what, you should be grateful. You've got a good job. You're in a senior position. Why rock the boat? Just be grateful that you've got that role. And that's the mindset. That mindset with that particular person made me really think to myself, this shouldn't be the way that we should be thinking. And is this the reason why we perhaps don't see a number of us in key positions that we ought to see?
Yeah. Now it's interesting, and I just want to invite persons here. Lorna Foster from good evening, gentlemen, everyone live. I'm in boost mode. Okay, I like that. Dion Johnson, high position. Dion Johnson's a high position, low sense of power. And Keisha Allen was on our show last Friday, Thursday night. Good evening, family. I want to put this out there as well to everyone. And I can see persons joining on YouTube as well and on Instagram. I want to put this out there. And Anthony, do we have figures, for argument's sake, about like non-white representation in the top position? Because one has got to have a sort of a figure, an idea of what we are talking about here.
Well, yeah, for sure. And, I've been doing some research on this, and some of the figures I've come up, or managed to find rather, is that if you look at the key positions of power within the UK today, there are approximately 1,099 key positions of power. We're talking about within the civil service, the police, within the government, etc. Out of those positions, only 52 are held by non-white people. Now, that's a staggering statistic. So let me give you something else, which obviously I did some research on earlier as well. Out of the FTSE 100, there are only 2 companies that have non-white CEOs of their organizations. 2 out of the whole FTSE 100. Now, surely, what does that say about us as a community? What does that say about us in terms of the issues that we're trying to bring around diversity and equality? And yet, when you look at the actual makeup of organizations, it's not representation. It doesn't represent the sort of makeup of society that we see today. And you have to ask yourself the question: why is that?
Why? Do you think that during this period of time, I mean, bringing up this topic now, is it one of the best times? Because right now we are going through this reflective process with this lockdown period that we're in. How do you see as a way to tackle this? And ladies and gentlemen, I must say Anthony is also a project management, isn't it? You're into this. You're this type of guy that looks at the Prime Minister and what they're doing with COVID, and you say, "What's going on? What's going on with Marcus Rashford and all these fanky food which they've got? How can this be?" You look at the practical outcome, isn't it, Anthony? Give us a breakdown of some of the work that you've done. Why you see these things?
Well, yeah, okay. So in terms of this projects or things that I've done, I suppose you would call me a project management specialist.
Yes.
I've had roles as project director for British Airways. I've been the program director for a number of large charitable organisations. I've run multi-million-pound projects. Even recently, I set up the Mind and the Co-op partnership, which is actually running today. So I've been involved in a number of high-profile projects and opportunities, so I'm familiar with, you know, perhaps what good governance and what good management in terms of logistics and project management ought to be.
Yes, yes. And also, I'll put this out there to people as well. I love to hear your input and your questions in this. But if we just ask this particular one, and this will actually goes in line, like, do you know like how many CEOs? I put that up there. Just go straight to the point there. FTSE 100 at BME CEOs.
Well, yeah, I think I just mentioned that one. There's only 2.
Yeah, only 2. and the reason why I put that up again is to make it a bit very obvious. And you're saying 2, but at the same time, a lot of these big corporations have lots of BME. I don't like the word BME.
And I think, yeah, I mean, and I think this is the issue. You know, so for example, we look at a number of large organisations. Let's just call let's name some of these large organisations that people are familiar with: the Sainsbury's, the Tesco's. You know, the big organisations that, you know, if you go into their stores, you'll see a very diverse workforce, perhaps on the shop floor when you go into to buy groceries, for example. But when you actually look at the senior management board and the board level, that's a different story altogether. There you don't see that representation, and it's because the individuals from the shop floor can't work their way up. I don't, you know, clearly that's not the case, because if that was the case, someone like Stuart Rose, who became the chief exec of, I think it was Marks and Spencer,
yeah.
He wouldn't have actually rose to that position, because don't forget, he started on the shop floor with Marks and Spencer 30 years ago, but yet he was able to rise to the top. So, you know, it is possible that you can achieve, you know, great success. And some of our individuals, there are a number of black and, you know, people from our community who have done exceptionally well. Sadly, they don't get normally mentioned in the media that often. So it looks as if we only have a number of key people who we normally see on TV and we recognize, without realizing actually that we do have maybe some other ones out there who are role models, but we just don't see.
Yeah. Then what do you think then are some of the changes then should companies adopt to address the concern within the workplace? And because is it also to do with the companies, but also with the mindset as well of individuals? Do you have that mindset of saying, let me just chill, let me just staying safe in safe mode? Questions, people out there, do you feel like in your position that you need to stay safe? Keisha, Dion, do you feel like you need to stay safe?
Well, I think there's 2 things. One is that change comes from the top in organizations. So really, the CEOs, the board of these companies need to recognize that, you know, their workforce needs to represent the sort of communities that they work with. And I think the issue here is that unless the chief execs and the board have this as part of their strategy, you know, that they actually are committed to seeing change within their organizations and not just paying lip service like we've seen with the George Floyd killing, whereby companies came out and pledged support for Black Lives Matter and all of these sorts of lip service types of gestures. These are sort of the tick in the box exercises. What we need to see from organizations is real effort by their boards, by their chief execs, to say, we can see that there is some issues here, we can see that there are issues around diversity and inequality, and we actually want to address them. And then they have to put in place some real structural changes in terms of their recruitment policy, in terms of how they actually carry out interviews with candidates, how they go around progression for staff within the organization, so they have opportunities to apply for some of these roles, where we have reverse mentoring, so that you know, people from that diverse backgrounds can see perhaps what goes on at other levels in other roles. We need to have a number of these initiatives that organizations can actually conduct, and that they are committed to, in order that we, you know, before we can actually see real change. That's on the organization side. On the individual side, we need individuals to actually believe that they can actually aspire to these roles, and not feel that there is a glass ceiling whereby, because they happen to have got a senior role, and I say senior because clearly they're not that senior because they're not at board level, that they are able to actually progress further, and that they shouldn't feel as if they have reached the point where they should be equal to that role.
And how would you then, as a coach, as a business coach, as you said, you speak to a couple of your clients and they're in that position, how would you address it? And I believe maybe from a coaching perspective, to deal with that sort of mindset and how to challenge these individuals who are at this high level to really push through and to, should we say they're risking it, Anthony?
Well, no, they're not risking it at all. I think the key thing that they need to understand and they need to do, and the clients who I work with, I mean, it's a number of things. One is clearly they need to obviously have a mindset that they're not grateful for the role, that they are equal to their colleagues, and actually all they need to do is look at their past accomplishments and achievements to see, well, hang on, this was where I was, this is where I am now. Clearly, I'm someone who is actually an achiever, and there's no reason why I can't move to the next level and achieve again. So it's really having that sort of confidence. You have to instill a confidence within the individual in the first place,
yes,
but also a change of mindset that comes from them actually looking back and seeing, actually, you know what, I have been successful in the past. Why can't I move to the next level? What is the barrier that potentially I feel is holding me back? And once they realize that there's nothing holding them back, then it's almost as if there's an epiphany. Crikey, I didn't realize that, if I simply just apply myself, if I simply just go for that interview, if I talk to the right people and they see that actually I have the skill sets, there's no reason why they wouldn't consider me for the role. And I think there's almost like a ceiling where some of us feel as if we've got to a level and really we can't, are we really chief exec level? Are we really senior management level? Are we really board level? Or are we simply just good enough to go to the next level? Right? So it's not just a question of getting to the very pinnacle of companies. It's actually really just aspiring to, the maximum that we can achieve. And I think that's something that, I work with clients, to really make sure that they feel confident in themselves, that they are able to actually achieve those things that they want to achieve.
Anthony, there's something here at the same time. There's something here which I'm looking at, and this is it. We're talking about the persons individually now, those who are in position now. But what about this other elephant in the room? As someone just said a while ago, we need to inspire our young. How do we then deal with the younger aspect now of individuals going through? Because those who are in the position are there, which we need them to get up there. But what about, how do we get these young persons now? How do we motivate the young people now to really break through?
Well, I think there's a couple of ways. I mean, I think if more of Black people, from different walks of life, different careers, were able to go into schools that, if they're able to sort of volunteer their time just to sort of talk to some of the children at lower levels in terms of grades, so that they can make them appreciate there are other opportunities and skills they can apply for. There are roles that they can do. So, for example, I would consider my own daughter as a role model because she's a teacher within a school. She's also an artist, a musician. She also does spoken word. To me, that she is somebody who has really aspired and seen the glass ceiling and thought, well, hang on, I don't even recognize that. As far as I'm concerned, I want to try and go as far as I can go in the time that I've got available to myself. So she's not somebody who is hell bent on actually being only what she can achieve now. She's looking towards the future, and that's really what people should be doing. So someone like her, she's a role model. She's actually in the school. She's teaching, our fellow Prime Minister of tomorrow, you could say. You also have people from different walks of life who are doctors, architects, accountants. Go in and just talk to students. Let them see, this is what I do. I am an accountant. I am a doctor. I am a teacher. I am a business person. And talk them around, you can aspire to be just like me. And that in itself will give the youngsters, at least they can see that there are different roles than just what they see on TV, the football, the rapping. We don't just want to be seen as being, because we're Black, we can run fast. We're singers, we're rappers. We have to sort of try and, make our youngsters see a different narrative. And it's not just around those sorts of topics that, are the ones that the media like to actually portray us in.
You may have seen Kande, what's his name? He was a top CEO of some organization, and he was stepped down. I think there was some friction there. I mean, that's a classic case of someone who's at the top, isn't it, Anthony? And now he's off. I don't know if you know the story about him.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, you're talking about Tandy, who was he used to be the chief exec of Prudential. Then he went on to become the CEO of I think. Oh, I'm trying to think of the bank. It was which bank was it? It was a large FTSE 100, FTSE 100 bank.
Yes.
So you know he's had a very, very, very successful career. And clearly, when you're at that level, at CEO level, sometimes there is a time period that you have as CEO, right? So you know he was CEO for a number of years. You know, as I said, he led Prudential as well for a number of years. He is one of the few black, or was one of the few black CEOs that we had, and he's had a fantastic career. But not many people know about him. He's known within the FTSE 100 companies, of course, and within the insurance industry. But not many people would be, perhaps like you've just mentioned his name, would be aware that he was the head of the Prudential and also, you know, the CEO of a leading bank.
Yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming on. And I've got Anthony Francis, business coach, mentor, author of Think It, Plan It, Do It Now. At the end, Anthony will talk about Think It, Plan It, Do It Now. I mean, sometimes I speak to Anthony and he says, Sylbourne, think it, plan it, do it now, Mike. And I say, oh, yeah, right. But you know, if you have some questions as well, and please share this video as you can. Please share it on Facebook and YouTube as well. I'd appreciate that. There's a question here, Anthony, and it is from Dion Johnson. You can see the question there. Are there gender nuances within these issues, Anthony?
Good point. I think some of the issues that I've had with clients is that you do have, there's one particular lady who I've been working with, and she referenced herself as not wanting to be seen as the angry black woman. Now, this was purely because of an incident that happened with one of her colleagues, and the colleague in question was being, I think there was an incident that took place, and the colleague didn't like it, but didn't want to say anything about it because she didn't want to rock the boat. You know, she was not in a senior role and just accepted it from, you know, for what it was, even though she did not like it. And this particular client I'm working with, she actually took offense and called out the individual and said, look, you know, you wouldn't do that to one of your white colleagues. And straight away then she felt she was now being pigeonholed as the angry black woman, you know, who couldn't perhaps maybe take a so-called joke, even though it wasn't a joke. So, you know, yes, there are nuances in terms of sometimes those types of points come up, but equally, you know, you then have the angry black man type syndrome. And, you know, but at the same time, if I'm not mistaken, I think there are more black females in senior roles than there are men. And I think that perhaps is indicative of the fact that if you look, for example, you know, political parties, you've got Priti Patel, you had Diane Abbott, you had, you know, people like those who were female. You don't see too many, apart from now we've got Sushi, sorry, not Sushi, I'm trying to think of the guy who's the Chancellor now, who's
Rishi Sunak.
Yeah. So, but again, you don't see too many of black faces in the political parties. Now, that could be a number of reasons, Sylbourne. It could be that, you know, we don't put ourselves forward, so therefore we don't get selected. You know, at the end of the day, if we're not in it, we can't be selected for it, right?
Yeah, we can't be at the table, definitely, if we're not.
So I think there's also a responsibility on ourselves to make sure that if we don't like the situation, that we have to do something about it. And if it means upskilling ourselves, or let's upskill ourselves. If it means, you know, employing maybe a coach to help us iron out some difficulties or some areas that we need to improve on, let's do that. But what we mustn't do is feel that we're grateful. We mustn't walk around with the, you know, the board on our shoulder. It's because I'm black why I didn't get the position.
Yes.
You know, we need to be a bit more inclusive and think a bit wider than just the normal narrative that sometimes gets mentioned.
Somebody on Instagram said, why maybe there's more women? Could it be that they're not considered a threat?
Well, that's an interesting point. I mean, I just mentioned about the angry black woman that lady, you know, was being referred to as. It's an interesting point. And to be honest, I don't really have any clear statistics or data on that. It could be a number of reasons why that is the case. Maybe, you know, more black women are putting themselves forward for roles. I mean, you have to look and think to yourself, you know, how many times do you see black candidates put themselves forward for senior positions. I mean, I myself used to work for a company called Orange Business Services. Now, they had about 170,000 people worldwide. And if the truth be told, when I was in that organization, yes, when I was in the head office in France, in Paris, you could see a lot of multiracial. In the UK offices, very little at all. And in fact, I think I was probably one of the only black project directors who was a black project director at the time. So again, it wasn't the fact that I wasn't being promoted. I was, but there weren't others. There weren't other people of similar color who also were going for those roles, because they just weren't in the organization. So we have to also recognize that, in order to get to these positions, we need to put ourselves out there. We need to make sure we're qualified. We need to make sure that we take a chance, we take a risk in terms of some of these opportunities that come by, and we need to network. A lot of these people who have got roles, it's sometimes through who they know as well. You can't just rely sometimes on your own devices. You've got to network with people, and that's also a key way that some of these other roles are given to people. We know that some of these jobs go unadvertised because it's who you know.
Yes. Well, and you see the question there, which Lorna has asked you there as well. I think it's along the line there. Then some, and it talks about, should change be top-down approach? Well, I thought you alluded to it before, but you can sort of expand on that again, Anthony.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's got to be top-down, because unfortunately the power is in the boards and the CEO levels, and the majority, as I've just alluded to, certainly from the FTSE 100. If you've only got 2 CEOs who are who are non-white in the FTSE 100, it means it's got to start from the top. And how it can do that? Well, it means that those organizations have to really be open and honest that they want to make change, because if those companies don't want to see change, then it's going to be very difficult for us to get a foothold. So, for example, if I was to ask people, which companies do you feel were more inclined to have black people in their boardrooms? Some people might say organizations like Nike, for example, because they see them promote black sports stars. They see them, the Patrick story, who started the whole taking a knee. And when you look at the board of Nike, there's actually no black people on the board. It's all white. So that to me is a conscious decision that they have made not to have any board members who are non-white. And unless they change that mindset, unless they change that will be how it is. Don't forget, Sylbourne, it's only in the last sort of 5 or 6 years that we've had the Rooney Law in the NFL that allows quarterbacks now to be black. Before that Rooney Law came in, the majority of quarterbacks who played in the NFL league, one of the richest sports leagues in the world, nearly 99% of them were all white.
Yes.
So because of the Rooney Law bit that was brought in that said you must have when you interview, there must be a black candidate, that made that you now see the likes of Patrick Mahomes, who has now come into the NFL in the last couple of seasons, who's on a $100 million contract, and people like this. It's all because of the Rooney Law.
Yeah. So Anthony, in sort of landing in a way, when we talk about these things, what really need to change if we are to see greater diversity in coming at all levels? Is it what we call proportional? What do you call it? Positive. What's what positive? What again? What's that thing in America? Positive affirmation, or what positive? What do you call it again?
Well, listen, what we don't want jobs for job's sake. Nobody wants to get the job just because they want to have a tick in the box exercise as an organization, right?
Positive discrimination. My apologies. Yeah.
Nobody wants that, because that's not healthy for the organization. It's not healthy for the individual, and it could actually be detrimental to the individual, because it might mean they've been promoted to a position that really they weren't supposed to be in, because they don't have the skill set. So you want people to get promoted on ability, not just on tokenism or on the fact that they want to tackle a particular quota. So I think if the opportunities are there, and there is a fair recruitment process whereby the people who are recruiting, it's a mixed panel, so there is no intimidation on the individual. there is a strong emphasis from the board and the organization that they would like to see diversity, then I think these are the sorts of initiatives that organizations need to make in order for us to see greater diversity within the organizations in general. And on top of that, you then need to have individuals themselves who are non-white come forward and put themselves about, both from an educational standpoint, but more importantly, to not feel that they are not as good as their other colleagues to apply for these roles.
Anthony, what would it be laws that makes that happen? Would it be some sort of regulation, some guidance? I mean, after the George Floyd issue, a lot of companies were feeling somewhat guilty in a certain way, and they were feeling a bit pressured to do something, to say something. I know one person one time said to me, they're at a high level position, they said, Sylbourne, they asked me, my CEO asked me, why did he come to me? I said, because you're black.
That's right.
But then is that a good position to be in? Because you're now being seen as, is it being seen as a scapegoat there? Is it being seen as a person in a key position then? There are different ways you can look at that, isn't it?
Well, I think what happened there was when the George Floyd incident happened, and companies suddenly wanted to get their statements out, what that really highlighted was, where they say, yes, we are a company that's into diversity, it really showed that they didn't understand diversity, because the first thing they did was to defer back to one of their black colleagues to say, well, what should we say? The board should be working hand in hand with their black colleagues in terms of their black network or within their organizations to understand what the issues are. They shouldn't then suddenly need to have to suddenly go to one and say, oh, by the way, what should our viewpoint be?
Yeah.
And just because you're black doesn't necessarily mean that you have all the answers, right? There's no point just simply thinking to themselves, oh, George Floyd has the George Floyd incident has taken place. Let's go and ask Sylbourne. Let's go and ask Anthony Black. He'll know what the response should be. That's a very lazy response, and I think it would then, to me, show that the organisation is not really serious about addressing the issues of race, diversity, and inequality within their organisation.
Well, as someone just said, Genesis Sun UK on Instagram, if we don't diversify, we will impact on products, design, and discoveries. We need all minds at the table. Is it that you mentioned something there? Just because a person is black, that doesn't mean to say they're the best at the table. That doesn't mean to say they got the best minds for the job. Is it?
Well, no, it doesn't, and that's why I said, I think you mentioned about having that sort of positive discrimination. That's why we don't want to have anything like that, because we don't want people to get the role just as a tick in the box exercise. A, it wouldn't be helpful for the individual. B, people in the organization might think he only got that because he or she was black, and that puts added pressure on that individual to perform. And if they happen to got the role wrongly in the first place, and then they fail, you know what the next question will be. Well, I told you so. So you don't want that type of situation, because that doesn't lead to a positive outcome whereby other individuals will then get the opportunity to apply for other positions within the organization when they try it and then they suddenly say, well, look, we gave that role to so and so, it didn't work out. Let's just carry on as we are. I think we need to recognize people's talents, give them the opportunities and the resources for them to work to other levels, do reverse mentorship.
Yes.
And really for the organizations at that board level to be committed to seeing diversity and address the inequalities within their organizations.
Well, as someone said on Instagram here, we need to operate proactively and not reactively. Now, Anthony, I don't know if we had dealt with this bit about, so right now, somebody could be listening, because I don't think this is a topic where somebody will come out and say, me, I'm going through this, because if they're at the top level, everybody will say, hang on a second. They're not going, what if that person listening now, other than calling you and say, I can help you coach yourself through this, because your details are there, what are some of the key tips that they should take into consideration at this time now, in this position, this key position, whereby they can go up, but they are playing safe? As we started, just stay safe. Just go to the bank and relax and chill. You're gonna get your pension soon. Chill. What do you say to them? What should they know then? Let's land with this matter.
Okay. Well, look, clearly, seniority and senior positions isn't for everybody. So we need to recognize that, you know, some people may be quite happy in the roles that they have. And we don't want to put undue pressure on individuals to go for things that they don't want to go for. If somebody is in a position where they want to try and move to the next level, but that mindset is holding them back, I would first of all say to them, hang on, look at your past record, look at the achievements that you have done to date. Look at the obstacles you've had to overcome to get to where you are right now, that's where you're at this role that you're now doing. And then also to say to yourself, what is holding me back from taking that next step and moving to the next level? Why can't I get to that post that everyone else thinks should go to X, Y, or Z? And sometimes what it is because everybody else thinks X, Y, or Z should get it, you yourself feel, well, actually, there's no point in me applying because everybody else has already thought that X, Y, or Z should have it. And so you automatically rule yourself out. You have that negative mindset. You have that almost, oh, well, I'm grateful I've got this post, as we started off in saying, I'm grateful I've got the job. And therefore you don't move further forward. So for me, it's, you know, it's three things. One is the mindset. One, it's actually recognizing that, you know, you can do the role as long as you feel comfortable and that you shouldn't hold yourself back. The third one is to recognize where you've come from to get to where you are right now, and actually say to yourself, I can go to the next level, and I will go to the next level, and nothing's going to stop me.
Well, I think those are very sound words, and you know, it's very crucial and important, this particular topic. Julian Hall just came on and said, great chat, guys. I've got as well Miss Lorna Foster. She's asking this particular question there. Do you have organizations that deal with complaints of racism in the workplace? I think we do, but you can emphasize on that, Anthony.
Well, there are organizations. I mean, there is one particular organization I know that deals with not necessarily racism in the workplace, but deals with putting individuals, should I say, in companies. So there's one company called Green Park, and they actually are very proactive. Their whole business ethos is around actually trying to get as many people from the Black community into board level roles, and they've been very successful. Their CEO has been very successful. He's actually won a number of CEO of the Year awards for diversity and inclusivity. And you know, I think individuals need to seek out companies like that and sort of work with them, do some of their coaching programs if they don't want, you know, if they feel that's appropriate, in order to give them the confidence to go to the next level.
Yeah.
Don't forget as well, it is a confidence thing as well for us to be able to sort of say, you know what, I'm going to go to the next level. It's not just about I can do it. You know, sometimes we do need to be polished. We do need those extra strings to our bow before we go and sit before those sort of roles. You know, not just senior roles, but any roles.
Yes. Well, listen, Anthony, great topic, and ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining. And you know, what we are talking about is step out of the lockdown mode, the safe mode, and go into boost mode. That's what Anthony is actually saying. But before I go, I need to just tell you about this, because it is important that we know why Anthony is here, because you got Think It, Plan It, Do It Now. That's the book. Now, Anthony, tell us about Think It, Plan It, Do It Now, and the vision behind this fantastic book here.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the whole vision behind Think It, Plan It, Do It Now. It's really, as it says on the tin, it's, you know, a number of people, they set goals, they have ideas, dreams, aspirations. And what tends to happen is they actually become just that, ideas, dreams, and aspirations. They don't do anything about it. So the idea behind the book is actually, rather than just, you know, procrastinate, is to say, right, you know what, I'm actually going to think it, I'm going to plan it, and then I'm going to do it. But I'm going to do it now. I'm going to take action now in order to actually try and achieve this particular goal that I've set myself. And the book is divided into a number of key chapters. The first chapter starts with commitment, funnily enough, because, you know, unless you are committed to actually making those changes, making a difference, you won't actually push yourself to actually complete the task anyway. So you have to be really committed. And so, you know, the whole idea of the book, it talks about goal setting, it talks about how to overcome procrastination, how to actually commit yourself to doing something. And also, it lists a number of excuses that people will give for actually not wanting to move forward, you know, such as I'll do it tomorrow. I'll think about it. So the idea is that a book like this, and you know, mine isn't the only one. I'm sure many people, many of your listeners, have got a lot of what I call self-help books, but they become shelf-help because that's where they actually sit on the shelf. So the only place that gets any help from it is the shelf. They don't actually, you know, they read the first chapter and then they put it back and they don't do anything about it. So unless you're prepared to take action, you won't actually achieve your goal. So the whole idea of this book is to actually take action, to think it, to plan it, and to do it now.
I was laughing when you said books on shelves, because I noticed a lot of interviews these last days, politicians and top leaders and everybody, they make sure they got all these books in the back there. And I sometimes looking at the books and I say, I wonder if they read that book actually, because I got a lot of books myself. And sometimes I know I don't read some of them. I need to really get into it. But think it, plan it, do it now. That's really powerful, because sometimes they say things like, don't just do it now. Do it right now. But the one that is really powerful, which I believe a lot of people have problems with, is procrastination. And I believe the key one of procrastination for me is when it comes on to the new year, a month before the new year, like this November, October, people say 2021. Well, nobody says that anymore because they're scared of that. 2021 is going to be my year and I'm going to do this. And I always say, don't just wait for 2021. Do it now. Do it right now, because that's one of the key killer. But Anthony, in wrapping up, any last words you want to talk about, any sort of tips, or I'll make sure I put it, ladies and gentlemen, of course, if you want to get in touch with Anthony, well, actually, Anthony's just 5 minutes from me on the corner, so I can run across to him. But if you want to get hold of Anthony, there is contact details, the website, and also his email address. But what's your last word you want to say, Anthony?
Okay, the last word for me is that do not feel that you are inferior. Do not feel that, you know, opportunities have passed you by. Do not feel as if you can't make the next level. Because as I said, if you simply just look back at your journey and see what you've already had to overcome, I think that will make you appreciate and recognize that actually you've got the ability and you've got the determination to actually move to the next level. And, you know, if that's your dream and that's your vision to go to the next level, then there's nothing that should stop you from achieving that.
And that's a wonderful way to end this show. And I always say all the while, don't say the sky's the limit. I change it and I say the sky is the start. And that's how I do it. But listen, I know there have some people over on Instagram, and I've said to Anthony, would you mind going over to Instagram? And I'm going to say, Anthony, pop over to Instagram and let's do the after show. I have this thing called the after show session, whereby we just have a little quick chat over Instagram. You got persons over there on Instagram. So Anthony, if you want to join us over Instagram, it's on there. You can join us. Lorna, Julian, and Keisha, and Dion, and persons who are joining, those now and those in the replay, please make sure you like and share the video as well. And, you know, take some of the tips and also let us get some feedback as well. That would be great and appreciated. Thank you very much and have a good night. Anthony, I want to thank you so much, sir. And if you join us over to Instagram, that would be fantastic. All right.
See you there.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Cheers. Bye-bye.